So first race of the season, all the hype and all the media events leading up at least to this race alone is already over. What are the emotions as you get ready for this weekend and get in that top fuel car and make a competitive run?
I definitely would like to have more runs under my belt going into today than we have, but you know, the weather is the weather and it controls everything. So honestly, I don't know. I truly feel like no matter what happens from the time we pull out to the staging lanes to the time that we actually get to make the run, I think that's probably going to be the most nerve-wracking part of it. I feel like once they hit the starter and it starts spinning the motor over, then you're going to go right into program mode of do your job, do the cadence, do the procedure correct, thinking about every step one at a time. So the best part of the day is going to be when I actually get in the car and get to do what I'd love to do. So no outside distractions at that point.
Is there any learning curve going from top alcohol to what is the big difference?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I mean, obviously the alcohol cars leave pretty good. They leave the line, but the bulk of the work for the alcohol car is done before 600 feet. And then the last 600 feet, the G meters, it's not going down, but it's rolling over. And, you know, the thing that you notice in the Top Fuel and funny cars is that at half track, you think you're running really quick to half track, and then when the clutch gets 1-to-1, then you're really going fast. So it's interesting how the feel's different. It's like it's a two-step deal in the Top Fuel and funny car, and then the alcohol car, it's hard, and then it just kind of gets easier the last half of the run.
And then you mentioned not getting the right. How many passes do you have?
This year, 9 total. So not enough. I mean, you know, I've obviously spent a lot of time with Matt and with Leah and Austin Prock and a bunch of people, and they say it takes about 100 runs to really get comfortable. So literally going into today, I've got a total of 29 runs in my life in a dragster as far as the Top Fuel car. Yeah.
You talked about the lack of runs. Did that lead into the decision to pull Leah out of the call out and put you in the dragster, or was that the Josh Hart deal that's going on?
No, that's more for the baby project we're working on. So the timing changed a little bit, and nothing to report on it. Just it's the stages of the process that we're going through, and the timing got changed. So it looked like she was going to be able to run the call out, and it ended up that she couldn't do it.
It's been a long time since you were a rookie. What's it like to be a rookie again?
I don't know. I'm somewhat embarrassed that I'm going to be a 52-year-old rookie in anything. So, but it's, you know, I'm excited about it too. I think one thing that makes the rookie battle really unique here versus everywhere else I've been is you're not racing for Top Fuel Rookie of the Year. You're racing for the Pro Class Rookie of the Year. All 4 Pro classes: Pro Stock Bike, Pro Stock, Funny Car, Top Fuel. All the rookies are competing against each other off of stats and how they create a point system for it. So if you win Rookie of the Year and you've done it against 4 pro divisions, I think that's something to be really proud of.
What went into your decision to, at this, you know, at 52, sort of enter into this new circuit? What was the big reason for that?
It was my wife deciding she wanted to start a family. Somebody has to drive the car. So in the spring last year, and we've covered this a million times, but in the spring of last year when she said, yeah, I think next year I want to start a family, and you know, talked about it a little bit, but at that time I hadn't ran the alcohol car much, and I said, she asked if I would consider it, and I said absolutely not. And then later in the year, when it starts getting closer to time and you have to start the process at the end of the season, we had to make decisions and get organized and have a plan. And at that part of the season, I said, I don't mind being back on the list now to be considered for it. But at the end of the day, it was Leah and Neil Straussbaugh's decision on who they wanted to drive the car.
How many pointers has Leah given you?
A ton, and so is this guy. I mean, it's like being in high school all over again and getting the Cliff Notes version of whatever book we're supposed to read that week. So, you know, you got a guy with 4 world championships, you got Leah with her best career season last year, and you have both of these drivers as teammates that are there for anything. I mean, and they'll even tell you that there's no stupid question. It's like you don't have to be embarrassed to ask him anything. I just literally go to him. He's like family now. So it's like, this may seem stupid, but he goes, yeah, I had that thought, or somebody else had that happen or something, and this is what you do. So it's having 2 teammates that you know you can, they're not necessarily at your disposal, but they're there and always willing to help out. And so if you have questions, you don't have to sit there and go, man, I'm gonna have to figure this out. You can go right away and get help with your teammates.
Matt, what's that dynamic like, having the boss also be kind of a student?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tony he's one of those guys that learns really quick. You know what I mean? So he processes information a lot differently than a lot of people, I think. I've been out here almost 20 years between pro mod and fuel cars and stuff, and you come across a lot of people. And I think he's one of those guys that's just very methodical about what he does, but he picks it up really quick. So if he's got a question, it's a real question most of the time, and he applies it to the race car and the racetrack really easily. So super fast student, super fast learner. I don't really see him having any issues. Obviously, the more seat time that you have, the better you're going to be. I mean, that's why a guy like Ron Capps or John Force or whatever that's had thousands and thousands of runs. You just can't replace that. And unfortunately, these cars cost so much to test and cost so much to run. On a good run, it averages out, on a test session to be about $7,000 a run if you don't hurt anything. That's it coming back clean. So and that's on average. So you can imagine when we go out here and try to test these cars, how important every run is and how important it is to process every run. And then you just kind of, sometimes you can easily overthink things. You just got to go up there like I told Tony and just drive the race car, man. It'll come natural. He's a natural wheel man and does a good job, behind us. And he crawled in my funny car and made it look easy. I was like, damn, I got to worry about my job now. You know what I mean? So it's just it'll all come. But seat time, there's no replacement for. And more runs he gets, the more comfortable he's going to get. And it'll all come into place. But he's had a whole year with an A fuel car. So the mechanics are there, the basics are there. He's got the foundation. It's just a little bit of kind of like figuring out, where you go. Yeah, you're fine. Where you go from there. It's just a little bit faster. That's all.
So this past year, you got the Force Championship. You now join on an elite list with Kenny Bernstein and Gary Scelzi as 4-time champions. Thinking about those two legendary names and now having yourself right beside them, what does that mean to you on a personal level as that kid who made that jump from Pro Mod into NHRA and had to work his way up to prove himself?
Yeah, I'm the list that I'm on there with those drivers. There's 3 other guys on that list with me, and it's Bernstein, Force, and the Snake. And those guys are living legends, right? Like they're like you can't believe that you're in the same category with them. Obviously, Force has kept a lot of guys from having 4 championships. He's won 16 and 10 in a row, and there's a lot of boys along the way that would have probably been in the same ranks as we are. But Force has kind of shut those hopes and dreams down for a lot of people. So for me to still be able to race against Force and still able to have 4 championships and the level of competition that we have out here is unbelievable. I don't ever think that there's going to be a decade of dominance anymore. I mean, the rules are too tight, the competition is too fierce, the budgets are so close. And so when you do win these championships and they do come together, I feel like they're even that much more special because you can't just go out here and outspin somebody. I look at Alexis DeJoria, look at Johnny Gray, look at Morgan Lucas. Those guys are billionaires, and the checkbook is unlimited, right? But it still doesn't matter. You still have to have a team, a group of people that have one goal, common goal at the end of the day, and you got to keep those people together for a long time to have successful, teamwork within each other and kind of knowing each other, and that's something you just can't buy. You know what I mean? So it's just like you have a group of individuals that come in early, they leave late. They're motivated, they're driven, they work hard, they're very dedicated to what we do out here, and that's what wins championships. But to put it in perspective, to turn on 4 win lights on just a race day, it's only I think 7 cars last year out of our field that usually holds anywhere from 15 to 20 cars that took home Wallies. There's a lot of people that are spending millions of dollars out here and never even getting a Wally. And I think we won 6 or 7 races last year, and so it's pretty incredible when you put it in perspective of the success that we've had. But I owe all my success to the group of people that we have around us. You know what I mean?
So obviously the past few years you've had the big 3, now big 4 of you, Caps, Height, and Tasca. Obviously Height left the season with the medical issues. Now you have Proc in the new car, but as we saw in Bradenton, it seemed like he just slid right in. How much of a variable does that throw in there for you to have now a new guy in that car who's just as good as Height is?
Yeah, I don't know if he's just as good as Height. The kid's got a lot to learn. Obviously, these funny cars are different than dragsters. I think he's doing a great job. I'm very proud of him. I think that to have a young kid like that, to be able to sit in a car and go rounds and be able to, you know, race the way he does is great. You know, he's stepping into a really great car, though, you know, so that takes a lot of the learning curve out of a lot of things. But at the end of the day, these funny cars are a handful, so I still look for him to have some issues along the way, but I think he's doing a great job. I have a lot of respect for him. He raced me heads up in the finals there in the pro race, and no bullshit, didn't mess around, just raced our race cars, and that's what I have respect for, and that's what I always liked running Robert, because it was never no games. It's just like, hey dude, let's burn out to turn out, man, and it just, you know, you put your car in there and we go race them, and that's the type of racing I like to do. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's a time and place for people that play games, but I enjoy the people like Robert that I respect that, you know, that just says, hey, I'm going to cut the tree down. You're going to try to cut the tree down. Let's line these things up and go see what our race cars got. You know what I mean? And Proc did that the other day with me, and I actually went over and shook his hand in his pit and was just like, that's a heads-up deal, man. I respect that, and congratulations, you know. So I do think that he's going to be a good driver over there. His dad and his brother, they do a good job tuning the race car. But I think he'll still have some learning to do with these funny cars. They're just a handful. When you're putting cylinders out down there and the rev limiter is bouncing off the rev limiter, it's picking holes up, you know, they're all over the track sometimes. And until you have that kind of experience of these things going left and right, he's probably had 10 or 15 runs in a funny car, you know what I mean? So it takes seat time, like I was telling you about Tony, and the more of that you have, the more prepared you're ready for what's going to do. It's kind of like sitting on a bull coming out of the gate. You don't know which way he's going to spin, you know what I mean? So that's why we crawl in there, you put your mouthpiece in, pull down, and hang on, you know?
What have you noticed, specifically with Gator Nationals and with this being his first race, have you noticed there's more buzz this year than years past?
The Gators here have always been amazing. You know, last year they sold out. I've won this 2 years in a row now. We're trying to win it 3 years in a row, but it's going to be hard to do. But like the buzz about this place has always been, it's like the first race on the East Coast, right? Like, you know, everybody, all these snowbirds, they want to come out and smell some nitro, you know what I mean? Like they love it. They eat it up, and if the weather stays good, it's always a sold out event. So there's always a big buzz around this race and what we do, and I think that you just kind of like, you got to absorb that energy, you know what I mean? Like when I do a burnout and I can look back and I'm backing up, and you know, you're taking your time backing up and you're looking around and you see all the people in the stands that are elbow to elbow. That's what gives me chill bumps when I'm about ready to do a run, you know what I mean? Because it's like, damn, all these people are packed in here to watch what we're going to do, you know? So it's pretty cool.
And then obviously a lot of people are going to be focused on Tony with what's going on this weekend. As one of the faces of longtime drivers of the sport, what is your message to these new fans that are going to be coming in here for the first time that may have not ever given NHRA a chance to try and maybe decide on a weekend, I'm not going to watch NASCAR, let's go see where NHRA is at this weekend?
I mean, I've never had a new fan that's been disappointed, you know what I mean? I've always, like, we'll have people come up, they're like, hey, it's my first drag race. It's like, take 2 minutes, come back and tell me what you think. And to this day, in the last 20 years, I've not had anybody ever disappointed with NHRA Drag Race. And they're like, oh my God, why haven't I figured this out sooner? Like, where's this been my entire life? You know, when you get up in the grandstands and you're at the very top and it still shakes every organ in your body, that's just raw power you can't get anywhere else. And it's one of those things you can't replace that. Like you know, it takes the whole NASCAR field to make up two of these funny cars sitting out there, you know what I mean? So it's just power, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of one of those things where you only get it one time, you know, in these different places that we hit on the circuits, you know what I'm saying? So I think the new fans will become, you know, long-term fans. And it's one of those things, if they take the time to really come out and break it down and bring their family out, I think they'll be back again in the future.
How would... No, go.
I don't know if Matt can answer this too, but like, I guess the qualifying rounds versus the eliminations, like, how much of it is you know, you versus yourself versus, you know, the person who, you know, near the lane?
Well, I think I went through all that process last year in the alcohol car and learning that aspect of it. Right now, the biggest thing is I've got to learn a different race car, and a race car that just goes a hell of a lot faster. And everything happens faster. So I think the biggest challenge is more just learning the car than it is anything else. I mean, obviously, you know, Matt and Leah both know the tricks and the mind games that the drivers can play with each other on the line. So the good thing is it's not like I go up there and I don't know what's going on. I already know the stories they've told me and the things to watch for and the things to be ready for. So it doesn't mean I'm going to execute it 100% every time, but at least I'm not going into a cold turkey and not having a clue what to expect. It's just the biggest thing is literally just the car.
So obviously any goal of a driver going into a weekend is to win it, but obviously while you're trying to get comfortable in the car, is there like a goal ET in your mind that if you get the ET, you can leave happy this weekend even without the win?
No, honestly, I don't think ET and mile an hour even matter to me. It's, you know, today the focus is getting in the show solid to where we feel like whatever time we can post today, you know, no matter what happens tomorrow, we're in a good spot. We have to out-qualify one car to get in. So the main focus for right now is just literally get ourselves solid in the show. And if we can, once we do that, then they can press harder. But, you know, it's all dependent on track conditions. If every track was the same every week and same temperature, same humidity, same grip level, then you worry about those numbers a lot more, I feel like. But, you know, literally from day to day, the track can slow down, it can speed up. It just depends on what the conditions are. So I'm not real focused on the numbers as much as learning what I need to learn in the car. And like I said, just trying to make sure we get a solid enough run in to hopefully not have to worry about getting bumped down at the end of the day.
Is that a weird feeling at all, given the amount of success you had in IndyCar and NASCAR, to kind of enter a race and not have, you know, maybe not be expecting a winner, maybe not be expecting necessarily to be a top finisher? Is that a weird feeling at all?
No, because I've had to do it a million times before I got to here. I mean, you look at all the cars I've driven, every time I got in a new car, it was the same thing. I didn't expect to win right out of the bat. So, you know it's a learning experience, and you know that during a race weekend, there's going to be, even if you test, there's things that are going to happen in race situations and on a big race weekend that don't happen during testing. So, I think if anything, it probably makes it an advantage that I've done it so many times and had to learn how to drive new cars and learn those experiences and the stress levels that go with it and figuring out how to compartmentalize it.
What has been this kind of whole experience at Gator Nationals been like so far in the Gainesville Raceway? What's that been like so far?
Well, I mean, it's the start to the weekend, obviously. I mean, none of the Nitro cars or pro teams ran yesterday, but, you know, just being at the track yesterday, and especially when we most of the teams got one run, the ones that were here on Tuesday, one or two guys got 2 runs in. But aside from that, it was just good to be back at the track with everybody that you're used to hanging around with all season. And you know, now it just feels different because instead of walking around as an owner, I'm walking around as a driver.
So obviously you have a wide network of team owners that you've known and been in contact with. Obviously with this new venture that you've had in NHRA, has there been any interest or questions that any team owners in other series have asked you about maybe trying to get in here or how it's been?
No, I probably the only guy that's really talked about it much is Joe Gibbs, and he hasn't talked to me about it a lot. But when I joined Joe's operation in the 90s, there Joe still had two pro teams. So you know, it just kind of solidifies our bond even that much more, that we have more parallels that we've had in our life, and you know, not only working together but what our careers have been like.
Is there any advice that Joe would give you coming in here, considering that he kind of had the same exact setup that you had with the funny car and the Top Fuel car?
Yeah, he said find a sugar mama that can pay for all of it. So it's no, Joe loved drag racing. He loves NASCAR. He loved the NFL. He's a great coach, a great leader, and you know, he just I think he understood when he realized that it was Lee and I together. He understood that this was probably something that would happen. He knows me well enough to know my habits and patterns. But you know, I just think he's been happy for us. I mean, we don't talk about it a lot, obviously. When we see each other, we're in NASCAR mode, so we don't get to talk about the NHRA side much. But he's, you know, I think he's been probably one of the most inspirational people in my life. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have teams out here.
And then obviously, if you got to experience about every track the NHRA goes to, now that you're going to be high behind the seat of the kings of the sport on top class, is there any race that you're looking forward to? It's like, I can't wait to get to experience this as a driver with any events that you're going to be going to this year?
I think it's kind of like the way I felt with the alcohol car last year. I look forward to the 4-wide races because even the pro drivers, there's not a lot of them that really embrace it and love it. And to me, I love it. It's like racing heat races for me. So I think if you can get in a situation where they're a little uncomfortable and you're looking forward to it, you kind of even things out a little bit.
Buddy, like, you know, your friends from NASCAR or anything like that reach out to you, ahead of this, kind of, you know, good luck or?
Yeah, I mean, it's been that way from IndyCar, NASCAR guys, sprint car guys, and they literally across the board, the common theme is they all think I'm crazy and lost my mind. And the sad part is I'm starting to believe it. So, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, you literally this morning and all day yesterday, and it started the night before that even. Started getting messages about the weekend from different people, and just it's not so much they say good luck, it's just how they say it that makes you feel good and know that even though you're not where they're at this weekend at a racetrack, they're still going to pay attention to what you're doing.